The day my father let me down started like any other family get-together, filled with fake smiles and empty words. I stood in our grand living room watching my stepmother, Serena, arrange fresh flowers in a fancy vase. My father walked back and forth near his big wooden desk, checking his watch often. My name is Isabel Baxter, and I had spent the last 3 years working with my father at his company, learning everything about the business he promised would one day be mine. That promise died today. "Everyone, please sit down," my father announced, his voice strong, like I'd always known it. "I have something important to say." My stepbrother, Leo, was sprawled across a leather chair with a smug look that made my stomach churn. He was 22 and had never worked a day in his life, preferring to party and post about his business ideas online. "As you know," my father continued, "I've been thinking about the future of our family business." He smiled at Serena, who beamed back. "After thinking it over carefully, I've decided to give most of the company to Leo." The words hit me hard, like a punch. I gripped the armrest of the sofa, my knuckles turning white. "What?" The word came out as a whisper. "It makes perfect sense," Serena chirped, placing her hand on Leo's shoulder. "A fresh look is exactly what the company needs." "Dad," I managed to say, trying to keep my voice steady, "we talked about this. I've worked there for 3 years. I have a business degree. I know every client, every supplier." "Isabel, please," my father cut me off, raising his hand. This was not an easy choice. Leo has some new ideas that fit better with where we want to go. Leo leaned forward, his expensive watch shining in the afternoon light. "Don't worry, sis. I'll make sure to keep you on in some way. Maybe in HR." I stood up quickly, my legs shaking. "Some way? Dad, you promised me. You said when I finished my degree." "Things change, Isabel," Serena interrupted. "We have to think about what's best for the family." "The family?" I laughed, but it came out more like a sob. "I am your family. I'm your daughter." My father wouldn't look at me. "You'll still get your salary, of course, but Leo will be taking over as CEO next month." "Next month?" The room started spinning. "You've already decided everything?" "The papers are being finished," my father said, finally looking at me. "I'm sorry if this makes you sad, but it's what's best for everyone." I grabbed my purse, almost knocking over a small table in my hurry. "Congratulations, Leo," I managed to say, proud that my voice didn't crack. "I hope you enjoy running the company I spent 3 years helping to build." "Isabel, don't be dramatic," Serena called after me as I headed for the door. I stopped at the doorway, turning back one last time. "Dad?" He still wouldn't look at me. "We can talk about this later, Isabel." "No," I said quietly. "We won't." I walked out of that house with my head held high, waited until I reached my car, and then let the tears fall. My phone buzzed, a message from my best friend Chloe. How did it go? I started the engine, my vision blurry. "They gave everything to Leo," I typed back. "Everything I worked for. Everything Dad promised me." Chloe's reply was quick. "I'm coming over. Don't do anything stupid before I get there." As I drove away from my childhood home, I saw my father watching from the window. For a moment, our eyes met, and I saw something flash across his face. Regret, maybe? But then Serena appeared beside him, and he turned away. 3 years of my life. 3 years of early mornings, late nights, missed vacations, and canceled dates. 3 years of learning every part of the business, of earning the respect of our employees and clients. All of it handed to Leo on a silver platter, because his mother had twisted her way into my father's life and convinced him that her precious son deserved my inheritance. My phone buzzed again. "Chloe, we'll figure this out. You're not alone." I took a deep breath, wiping away the last of my tears. Chloe was right. This wasn't over. I might have lost my inheritance, but I hadn't lost my knowledge, my experience, or my strong will. They wanted to push me aside? Fine. But they were about to learn that I was my father's daughter in more ways than one, and I didn't give up without a fight. 3 days after my world fell apart, I sat in Mr. Keterson's law office, surrounded by tall bookshelves and the smell of old leather. The family lawyer had known me since I was a little girl, and his kind, wrinkled face showed real worry as I told him what had happened. "I just don't understand," I said, twisting a tissue in my hands. "How could he legally do this? I thought the company was supposed to be split between any children." Mr. Peterson took off his reading glasses, rubbing the bridge of his nose. "Your father changed the company's ownership last year. As the main owner, he had the right to give his shares to whoever he chose. Last year." The betrayal cut deeper. So he had been planning this. "Isabel," Mr. Peterson hesitated, then stood up and walked to a large filing cabinet. "There's something else you should know. Something about your grandmother's will." My grandmother had passed away 5 years ago, leaving everything to my father, or so I had thought. Mr. Peterson returned with a thick folder, placing it on his desk carefully. "Your grandmother was a remarkable woman, and she was, let's say, curious, very smart about certain things that might happen." He pulled out a document and handed it to me. "There's a part here that your father doesn't know about. Your grandmother set up a special fund in your name with very clear rules." My hands shook as I read the paper. $2 million? I whispered. But why didn't I know about this? The rule said that you could only get the money if you started your own successful business by the age of 30. Your grandmother believed in building things, not just getting money for free. She wanted her legacy to inspire new ideas, not just to be depended on. I sat back, stunned. Does my father know about this? Mr. Peterson shook his head. "No, your grandmother was very clear. This information was only to be told to you, and only if you were ever cut out of the family business." "She knew," I breathed. "Somehow she knew something like this might happen." "Your grandmother watched your father marry Serena," Mr. Peterson said quietly. "She had concerns." My phone buzzed, another message from Chloe asking how the meeting was going. I ignored it, focusing on the document in my hands. "What counts as a successful business?" I asked. "According to the rules, you need to show a profit within your first year of working. The business must be entirely yours, no family involvement." I let out a shaky laugh. "No risk of that anymore." "There's more," Mr. Peterson said, pulling out another document. "Your grandmother left detailed notes of various business contacts, possible opportunities, even market research she had done. She wanted to give you tools, not just money." "Why didn't she just tell me all this before she died?" "She believed you needed to find your own path first." Her words were, "Isabel needs to understand what it means to lose everything before she can truly build something of her own." I stood up and walked to the window, watching cars move below. $2 million? I repeated. "That's enough to start something real." "It is," Mr. Peterson agreed. "But Isabel, this won't be easy. Starting a business never is, special fund or not." I turned back to him, feeling something I hadn't felt in days. Hope. Nothing worth doing ever is, right? "There's one more thing," Mr. Peterson said, his face serious. "If you take on this challenge, you can't tell anyone about the fund. Not your father, not Serena, not even Chloe. The money must seem to come from your own savings and investors." Your grandmother was very firm about this. "Why?" "She wanted your success to be yours alone. No one could say they helped you or that you had an unfair advantage." I nodded slowly, a plan already forming in my mind. "Can I take these documents to look over?" "Of course," Mr. Peterson gathered them into a folder. "Isabel, your grandmother believed in you. She saw something in you that reminded her of herself." As I stood to leave, Mr. Peterson called after me. "One last thing. Serena called yesterday asking if you'd been here. She seemed worried about any possible legal action." I smiled, thinking of my stepmother's worried face. Let her worry. I've got better things to focus on now. Walking out of the office building, I finally replied to Chloe's message. Meet me for coffee. I've got an idea. My grandmother had given me more than money. She'd given me a chance to prove myself, to build something of my own. And unlike the inheritance my father had promised, this was something no one could take away from me. I looked up at the sky, silently thanking my grandmother for her foresight. She'd known I might need an escape, and she'd provided one, but only if I was willing to work for it. Challenge accepted, Grandma. An eco-friendly business? Chloe stirred her latte, raising an eyebrow. That's quite a change from corporate finance. We sat in our favorite coffee shop, laptops open, surrounded by the busy sounds of afternoon customers. I'd spent the last hour explaining my ideas, careful not to mention the special fund. Think about it, I said, turning my laptop to show her my research. The market for earth-friendly products is growing fast. People want to feel good about what they buy, but they don't want to give up quality or ease. Chloe leaned forward, looking at the screen. And you're thinking what exactly? Biodegradable packaging solutions for businesses. Everything from takeout containers to shipping materials. I pulled up another tab. Did you know most companies want to go green but can't find reliable suppliers? The few that exist charge huge prices. And you think you can do better? I know I can. I opened my spreadsheet. I've already found 3 possible factories that can make things in large amounts. If we can make the supply chain smoother and build direct relationships with businesses, we could change the whole industry. Chloe's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and frowned. Heads up, Leo's been asking about you. Apparently, Serena's worried you're planning some kind of legal action. Let them worry, I said, thinking of the folder from Mr. Peterson sitting safely in my apartment. I've got bigger plans. Speaking of plans, Chloe said, lowering her voice, how are you going to pay for this? Starting a business isn't cheap, and you just lost your job. I'd prepared for this question. I've got savings, and I'm planning to talk to investors. My experience at Dad's company gives me credibility. Isabel, Chloe hesitated, are you sure you're not just doing this to prove something to your father? I'm doing this for me, I replied firmly. Dad made his choice, now I'm making mine. The coffee shop door chimed, and I froze as Leo walked in, wearing his usual expensive clothes that screamed rich kid. He saw us and walked over, pulling up a chair without asking. Well, well, he smirked. Planning your next career move? I heard HR is hiring. I closed my laptop slowly. Actually, I'm starting my own company. His snort's laugh was sharp. You, a company? With what money? That's none of your business, Chloe cut in, her voice cold. Look, sis. Leo leaned forward, his voice dripping with fake concern. Why don't you come back to the company? I could use someone with your office skills. I appreciate the offer, I said, keeping my voice steady, but I'll pass. Some of us prefer to build something of our own, rather than having it handed to us. His smile faltered. Dad's worried about you, you know. He thinks you're not thinking clearly. Dad lost the right to worry about me when he gave you everything he promised me. I started packing up my things. Tell him I'm fine. Better than fine, actually. Whatever you're planning, Leo called as we stood to leave, it won't work. You're not cut out for this. I turned back, meeting his gaze. Watch me. Outside, Chloe linked her arm through mine. You know what? I'm in. Whatever you need. Market research, networking, anything. Let's show them what you can do. I hugged her, grateful for her support. First step, we need to find office space. Something professional, but not too expensive. Already on it. Chloe pulled out her phone. There's a new co-working space downtown, very eco-friendly. They might even become your first client. As we walked, I saw my reflection in a store window. I looked different somehow, stronger, more determined. My grandmother had built her own empire from nothing. Now it was my turn. My phone buzzed with a text from my father. Leo says you're starting a business. Let's talk about this. Come to dinner tomorrow. I showed Chloe the message. She snorted. He's probably worried you'll become competition. Not yet, I replied, typing out a response. Can't make dinner, too busy building my future. I hit send and turned off my phone. You know, Chloe said as we reached her car, your grandmother would be proud of you. If only she knew how right she was. I smile, thinking of the special fund waiting to be used. But first, I had to prove I could do this on my own terms. Come on, I said, getting into the passenger seat. Let's go look at that office space. I've got some ideas for the presentation we need to create. As we drove away, I saw Leo watching us from the coffee shop window. Let him watch. Let them all watch. They thought they'd knocked me down, but they'd actually set me free. And I was going to soar. Your samples look great, Miss Davies, the restaurant chain executive turned the earth-friendly container in her hands. But how can you promise a steady supply? We've been let down before by new companies that couldn't deliver. I sat in her sleek downtown office 3 months into building my company, Green Path Solutions. This meeting was my biggest pitch yet, a possible contract that could make or break us. We've already made agreements with 3 manufacturing facilities, I replied, pulling up the supply chain presentation on my tablet. I can show you our production plans. I've seen the numbers, Miss Davies, she interrupted. What I need to know is why I should trust you over older suppliers. I leaned forward. Because unlike them, we're not just selling products. We're offering a complete packaging change solution, including staff training and waste management advice. Plus, our prices are 20% lower. Miss Davies' eyebrows shot up. 20%? How? Streamlined operations and direct factory relationships. No middlemen. I didn't mention the special fund that had helped secure those relationships. We can start with a trial run if you prefer. Before Miss Davies could respond, my phone buzzed. Leo's name flashed on the screen. I declined the call. Family business? Miss Davies asked, noticing my expression. Former family business, I corrected. I'm building something new now. She nodded slowly, then reached for the contract. Let's start with a 3-month trial, 2 locations. If it works out, we'll talk about expanding to all 30 restaurants. My heart soared, but I kept my face calm as we shook hands. Outside her office, I finally let myself smile. Our first major client. My phone buzzed again. Leo had left a voicemail. Against my better judgment, I played it. Hey sis, heard you're making waves in the eco-friendly space. Let's grab coffee. I have a proposal that could help us both. I deleted the message and called Chloe instead. We got it, I announced when she picked up. The restaurant chain contract. I knew you would, Chloe cheered. This calls for celebration. Drinks tonight? Can't. Meeting with potential investors tomorrow morning. Rain check? You're working too hard, Chloe sighed. But I get it. Just don't forget to... She was cut off by another incoming call, my father this time. I ignored it. Still not talking to them? Nothing to say. I reached my car, juggling my phone and briefcase. They made their choice. I'm making mine. Back at our small office in the co-working space, I found Leo waiting by my desk. He wore his usual smirk, but something about his face seemed forced. Nice setup, he gestured around the modern space. Very modest. What do you want, Leo? Can a brother check on his sister? He sat on my desk. Actually, I have a business idea. Dad's company is looking to go green. Good PR, you know. We could use your services. I stared at him. You want me to supply packaging to the company you stole from me? Come on, Isabel. It's just business. Think about it. Guaranteed contracts, steady income. Dad feels bad about how things turned out. This could be a way to keep you in the family business. I have my own family business now, I replied, setting down my briefcase, and we're doing just fine without your help. Are you? He picked up a sample container. These startup costs must be killing you. Where'd you get the money anyway? That's none of your concern. I took the container from his hands. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have work to do. Dad's not going to like this, Leo called as I walked him to the door. He thinks you're being stubborn. Dad lost the right to an opinion about my choices. I held the door open pointedly. Send my regards to Serena. After he left, I sank into my chair, hands shaking slightly. They were getting nervous. Good. The restaurant chain contract would be announced next week, and then everyone would know Green Path Solutions was a serious player. My phone lit up with a text from Miss Davies. Contract signed and sent to your lawyer. Looking forward to working together. I smiled, thinking of my grandmother. She'd built her empire from nothing, facing much bigger problems than I was. The special fund helped, but the vision, the work, the determination, that was all me. Opening my laptop, I began preparing for tomorrow's investor meeting. Let Leo run my father's company into the ground. I was building something better, something lasting in every sense of the word. The future was green, and I was going to lead the way, not as my father's daughter or Leo's stepsister, but as my own person, as my grandmother's granddaughter. GreenPath Solutions announces third straight quarter of growth, Chloe read from her tablet, her feet propped on my new office desk. I gazed out the floor-to-ceiling windows of our downtown headquarters, still amazed at how far we'd come in 18 months. Read the part about the expansion again. Under CEO Isabel's leadership, the company has secured contracts with major stores and restaurants nationwide, with plans to expand worldwide by next quarter. The door burst open and Maria, our office manager, rushed in. "Isabel, you need to see this." She handed me her phone, showing a breaking news article. Baxter Industries stock drops sharply amid environmental violations and poor management concerns. "Your father's company," Chloe leaned over my shoulder to read. "Oh wow, this is bad." The article explained how my father's company had been caught illegally dumping toxic materials, trying to save money after several quarters of losing profits. Leo's leadership was specifically mentioned as a reason for the company's decline. My phone started ringing. Serena's number. I declined the call. "They're saying the fines could be millions," Maria added, "plus the cleanup costs." Another call. My father this time. I sent it to voicemail. Chloe sat up straight. "You don't think they'll try to come to you for help?" I finished. They already are. I showed them my phone screen, displaying a text from Leo. "Need to talk. Family emergency, please." "What are you going to do?" Chloe asked quietly. Before I could answer, Maria's phone buzzed. "They're in the lobby," she said. "Your father and Leo. Should I send them away?" I thought about all the nights I'd cried myself to sleep after they took my inheritance, about Leo's smug face at every industry event, about my father's silence when I needed him most. No, I decided. Send them up. 5 minutes later, they stood in my office looking clearly uncomfortable. My father had aged years and months, and Leo's expensive suit couldn't hide his desperation. "Nice office," my father said, looking around. "You've done well for yourself." "What do you want, Leo?" He stepped forward. "We need your help. The environmental violations, they happened under the old system, before we took over." "But you covered them up instead of fixing them," I finished. "I saw the report." "The fines will bankrupt us," my father said quietly. "We need a partner with experience in earth-friendly practices, someone who can help us change and rebuild trust." "And you thought of me?" I laughed. "How convenient." "Look," Leo's voice cracked, "I know we were wrong about everything. You clearly know what you're doing. We're offering you a chance to come back, to be part of the family business again." "Part of the family business?" I stood up. "You mean the business you stole from me? The one you've run into the ground?" "Isabel, please," my father stepped forward. "We're family." "Family?" I walked around my desk. "Where was family when you gave everything to Leo? Where was family when he tried to ruin my company? Where was family when Serena spread rumors about where I got my money?" They both had the good sense to look ashamed. "I built this company from nothing," I continued. "No family connections, no inherited clients, just hard work and vision, something neither of you would understand." "We can offer you most of the shares," Leo said desperately, "whatever you want." "I don't want your failing company," I replied. "I have my own." My father sank into a chair. "Without help, we'll lose everything." Like I lost everything. I pressed a button on my desk. "Maria, please show them out." "Isabel!" My father stood, looking older than I'd ever seen him. "I'm sorry for everything. I made a terrible mistake." For a moment, I felt my strong will waver. Then I remembered my grandmother's words in her will. Isabel needs to understand what it means to lose everything before she can truly build something of her own. "I'm sorry too, Dad," I said softly, "but you made your choice. Now you have to live with it." After they left, Chloe hugged me. "Are you okay?" I looked around my office, at the awards on the walls, the growing team beyond my door, the city view I'd earned through my own efforts. "You know what?" I smiled. "I really am." My phone buzzed with another text from Leo. "Please reconsider. We need you." I deleted it without responding. They needed me before, when I was working 80-hour weeks, learning the business. They needed me when I brought in new clients and made systems better. They just hadn't valued me. Now, they could watch as their company crumble while mine soared. Sometimes, karma worked in perfect ways. The news of Baxter Industries' bankruptcy was everywhere in business publications. I sat in my office, scrolling through the headlines. Family company collapses. Environmental violations lead to corporate downfall. CEO Leo steps down amid crisis. A knock on my door interrupted my reading. Maria poked her head in. "Your father's here again, third time this week." I sighed, closing my laptop. "Send him in." He entered slowly, looking nothing like the powerful businessman I'd grown up admiring. His suit hung loose on his frame, his hair now more gray than black. "The house is being sold," he said without preamble, sinking into the chair across from me. "Serena's filing for divorce." "I heard." I kept my voice neutral. "Where's Leo?" "Dubai, supposedly, trying to get investors." He laughed bitterly. "No one will touch us now." I poured 2 cups of coffee, sliding one across to him. "Why are you here, Dad?" "I had a lot of time to think lately," he said, staring into the cup. "About choices, about legacy. Your grandmother would be so disappointed in me." "Probably," I agreed. "She believed in earning success, not just giving it away, like you did." He gestured at my office. "2 years ago, I thought I was protecting the company by giving it to Leo. I convinced myself he had the right qualities, that you were too emotional. And now? Now I watch you in the news, leading the industry, changing how business is done." He looked up, eyes glistening. "You did everything I always wanted for the company, just without me." "I had help," I said, thinking of my grandmother's special fund. "Just not from you." "The fund," he nodded. "Mr. Peterson finally told me about it last week. Mother always was 3 steps ahead of everyone." I froze. "You know about that?" "She set it up right after I married Serena," he smiled sadly. "She saw what I couldn't, or wouldn't, that I was letting my new wife influence my judgment, letting her push you out." "It wasn't just Serena," I said quietly. "You made your choices, Dad." "I did." He pulled an envelope from his jacket. "That's why I'm here. These are my remaining shares in Baxter Industries. They're not worth much now, but—" He slid the envelope across my desk. "They should go to you. They always should have been yours." I stared at the envelope. "I don't want them." "I know." He stood up. "But I need you to have them. Not to save the company, it's too late for that, but because they belong to you. Because I was wrong. Dad, you know what the worst part is?" He moved to the window, looking out at the city. "Watching you succeed without me, knowing I could have been part of something amazing if I just believed in my own daughter." I joined him at the window. "I would have made you proud. You did make me proud, Isabel, just not the way I expected." He turned to face me. "You built something better than I ever could. You did it your way, the right way." "Is that why Serena's leaving? Because you lost everything?" He shook his head. "She's leaving because Leo emptied their accounts before he fled. Like mother, like son, I suppose." Despite everything, I felt a twinge of sympathy. "What will you do now?" "Start over. Get a small apartment. Maybe consult if anyone will hire me." He straightened his tie. "I'm not here to ask for help, Isabel. I just needed you to know that I understand now, and I'm sorry." As he turned to leave, I called out, "Dad." He paused at the door. "There's a coffee shop around the corner. They make decent breakfast sandwiches, if you wanted to." A smile crossed his face. "I'd like that." After he left, I opened the envelope, looking at the worthless shares of my father's fallen company. Then I glanced at my own company's latest financial reports. Another record quarter. Chloe burst in. "Did I just see your dad leaving? Are you okay?" "I'm fine," I said, and meant it. "Actually, I'm better than fine." "What did he want?" I tucked the envelope into my desk drawer. To admit he was wrong. To say he's proud of me. "And are you going to help him?" I thought about my grandmother, about legacy, about earning success. "No," I said finally, "but I might have breakfast with him next week." Chloe smiled. "Your grandmother would approve of that." Looking out at my growing empire, I knew she was right. Sometimes karma wasn't about revenge. It was about finding your own path, even when others tried to block it. And sometimes, just sometimes, it was about being strong enough to listen when those who wronged you finally admitted their mistakes. The autumn breeze rustled through the cemetery as I placed fresh flowers on my grandmother's grave. The marble headstone gleamed in the morning sun, her name etched in elegant letters. I brought someone to see you, Grandma, I said softly, stepping aside as my father approached. He placed his own bouquet beside mine, his hands trembling slightly. We'd been meeting for breakfast every Wednesday for the past month, slowly rebuilding what we'd lost. Today, he'd asked to come here with me. Hello, Mother, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I should have visited sooner. My phone buzzed, another news alert about Leo. He'd been arrested in Dubai trying to use fake documents to get money from frozen accounts. Serena had already fled to Europe with whatever she'd managed to save from the ruins of their lives. Did you see the news? Dad asked. I nodded. Karma has a way of catching up. That it does. He straightened up, adjusting his now worn tie. I have something to tell you. I got a job offer yesterday. A small consulting firm helping companies change to earth-friendly practices. Dad, that's wonderful. They found me through you, actually. He smiled wryly. Said if I taught you everything you know about business, I must be worth hiring. He exhaled. I told them you taught me more than I ever taught you. A familiar voice called from behind us. Isabel, I thought I might find you here. We turned to see Mr. Peterson approaching, carrying a folder. Your grandmother left instructions to give you this after certain conditions were met, he said, handing me the folder. You've gone beyond all of them. Inside was a letter written in my grandmother's clear handwriting. My dearest Isabel, if you're reading this, you've done more than simply claim your inheritance. You've earned it. You've built something meaningful, something lasting. But more importantly, you've learned the lesson I hoped you would, that true success comes not from what we're given, but from what we create. I'm sorry I had to be secretive about the special fund, but I needed you to find your own strength. Your father had to learn his lesson too, though I suspect his will be harder. Remember, legacy isn't about money or power, it's about impact. Make yours count. All my love, Grandma. Tears blurred my vision as I passed the letter to my father. He read it silently, then folded it carefully. She knew, he said quietly. She knew I would fail you, and she prepared for it. She knew you could learn from it, I corrected, just like she knew I needed to lose everything to build something better. Mr. Peterson cleared his throat. There's more. Your grandmother left instructions for a charity foundation to be started once you proved yourself. The paperwork is ready. She wanted you to lead it. I stared at him. A foundation to help young business owners, especially women, start earth-friendly businesses? He smiled. She believed in paying it forward. My father touched the headstone gently. That sounds exactly like her. Looking between my grandmother's grave and the folder in my hands, I felt everything come full circle. She hadn't just given me an escape, she'd given me a mission. Dad, I said suddenly, would you like to help with the foundation? Your experience could be valuable. He looked startled, then deeply moved. You trust me with that? Trust is earned, I replied, just like success. But everyone deserves a chance to rebuild. Mr. Peterson handed me a pen. Shall we make it official? As I signed the foundation documents on my grandmother's grave, I felt a deep sense of peace. My father stood beside me, not as the man who had let me down, but as someone learning to be better. Somewhere in Europe, Serena and Leo were facing the results of their actions. And here I was, building something new again, not out of revenge or anger, but out of hope. What would you name it? My father asked. I looked at my grandmother's name on the headstone, remembering her strength, her foresight, her belief in earning one's way. The legacy, I decided. Because true legacy isn't what we inherit, it's what we build. The autumn wind picked up, scattering leaves around us. In that moment, I could almost feel my grandmother's approval. She'd known all along that losing my inheritance would lead me to something greater, not just success, but understanding, not just wealth, wisdom. And as I stood there between my father and my grandmother's grave, holding the future of a new foundation in my hands, I realized that sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living well, building better, and helping others do the same. That was the real inheritance my grandmother had left me, and I intended to make it count.